Hi, Daniel and Amanda. It's Matt Smith. I'm going to take the PowerPoint that I used to guide our first session with the Master Instructor group and walk you guys through a really brief overview of the process and especially the building of the portfolio. So you'll probably have some questions as the screencast rolls on. Just jot those down and shoot them to me in an email, and I will make sure that I try to answer those as quickly as we can. So moving forward, the agenda for that meeting, we did a brief welcome. Dr. Moorbutter spoke to the group for a few minutes. We did a round of introductions because I think I was the only person in the room who did not know everyone already. I talked a little bit about what MIHE is and what it's not. We talked about the performance indicators. There are 3 of them, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. Took a little break, and then we talked about an imaginary candidate. His name was Peter, and we looked at how Peter might build a portfolio and what his professional experiences were that were aligned with the 3 performance indicators. And then I talked with him about that Google Doc that I sent to you guys already, and we went ahead and got started. So that was kind of our overview. We were in and out in 2 hours on the nose, and we'll try to get through this PowerPoint in 15 minutes. So here we go. Outcomes from that meeting. We wanted to make sure everyone understood what the MIHE credential was, the process, and the timeline. We unpacked the 3 performance indicators, and then we also decided wanted to work together to set the standards that would guide our work over the next 2 semesters. And I'll emphasize to you guys that although this is technically called a course, I regard you guys as a cohort, not necessarily individual students. I see myself more as a facilitator of a process instead of an instructor. This is intended to be me working with you guys to help make sure that there's some structure to a process rather than me necessarily teaching you how to do anything in particular. So my role is to make sure that our classes are really sessions and that those sessions are informative and structured and that they're productive for you. So moving on, a little overview of what MIHE is and what it's not. It is definitely not going to be a static process. Being completely honest with you, the college has an idea of what the MIHE credential stands for, and they have identified the 3 performance indicators. They know what the portfolio expectations are, but aside from that, they have not built out the process to get you from identifying the standards to producing their portfolio that meets those standards. So it's not going to be a static process. It's definitely going to be organic. It's going to be growing and changing as we work together. Part of my job is to help make that happen. It is not going to be threatening, hence the alligator with the arm in his mouth. This process is not going to probably change the way you teach. It's not going to ask you to alter anything that you do. You've been selected for Cohort 1 because you're already a high performer. And Dr. Moorbutter and the NCC leadership was very sure that you all would be successful as the first cohort. So please don't think that this is going to be a process that radically alters your instructional practices. There will be time for reflection, for introspection, for analysis. Sometimes in the busy day-to-day life that we lead, we need time to kind of step back and to reflect. And so that is part of this process. My intent is that over the 4 classes in the fall semester or the 4 sessions in the spring semester, that we get this work done in a process-oriented way, but that it is not stressful, that it does not cause you a lot of angst, and that you're not staying up late at night or sacrificing family time in order to earn this MIHE credential. And the last image here has to do with payday, and that is earning the MIHE credential. Dr. Moorbutter has informed me that you all will be earning an additional $1,000 to your base pay for becoming master instructors. So there is a pretty substantial payday for going through this process, and there is some talk that that will be about a 5-year period and that there will be a renewal process every 5 years. So this potentially would have $5,000 worth of additional earnings for you all. So something positive there, a little pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So unpacking the performance indicators, there are 3 MIHE performance indicators, the first one being educational professionalism, the second one being leadership and collaboration, and the third one being responsibility for student learning. And being quite honest, the performance indicators overlap each other, and So we're going to try to draw discrete boundaries between the three standards, but the truth is we all know that our work overlaps those three areas at all times. Looking at educational professionalism, here's the performance language for that. The master instructor is a lifelong learner committed to professional development and staying abreast of the most current educational research. He or she reads, understands, and models research-based best practice related to instruction and student learning. The master instructor is a content expert who aligns his or her professional development with the goals and missions of the college. The master instructor upholds the highest ethical standards while advocating for the college in his or her work with students, colleagues, and other professionals. And there are some key words that stand out in that language. For me, these are the ones that I identified for educational professionalism: lifelong learner, professional development, current educational research, research-based best practice, content area expert, aligning your professional development, highest ethical standards, and advocating for the college. So those are the key words that leapt out to me when I was looking at educational professionalism. Moving on to the second performance indicator, leadership and collaboration. The master instructor leads the change effort by working collaboratively with colleagues to improve student learning. He or she positively contributes to faculty learning communities and actively works to engage others in the cycle of continuous improvement. The master instructor aligns his or her work with the broader goals of the college and the work of his or her colleagues, and through his or her efforts to lead and collaborate with others, the master instructor contributes positively to change on the NCC campus. So again, some key words leapt out to me there: leads the change effort, working collaboratively, improving student learning, contributes to FLCs, engages others, continuous improvement, alignment of your work, leading, collaborating with others, contributes actively to positive change. So that's standard 2 in a nutshell. Looking at standard 3, the one about responsibility for student learning, this language is a little bit longer. Master instructor sees his or her classroom through the eyes of the learner. He or she plans appropriately for every lesson, including effective instructional strategies that are differentiated to meet student needs. The master instructor uses formative assessment to ensure that students are learning what he or she is teaching, and engages in active reflection about how to improve student learning. The master instructor capitalizes upon diversity in his or her classroom by aligning pedagogy with students' prior knowledge, background, and learning styles. He or she builds healthy relationships with all stakeholders at the college and effectively implements instructional technology that supports student learning. The master instructor creates a student-centered learning environment that promotes the academic growth of all students. So, keywords there that leapt out: plans appropriately, effective instructional strategies, differentiation, formative assessment, reflection, capitalizing upon diversity, aligning your pedagogy, builds healthy relationships, instructional tech, student-centered learning, and active promoting academic growth. And as I said earlier, these three performance standards really do overlap each other. And so most of your work probably falls in more than one of those performance indicators. Our goal is to really recognize you guys as master instructors for being people who have aligned your work in such a way that educational professionalism, leadership and collaboration, responsibility for student learning are all personified in you as an instructor. So looking at the process, our first step is reviewing the standards, which I hope this screencast helps you to do in some of the documents that I emailed to you earlier. We're going to be building the portfolio over the next few months. We're going to be working on peer reviews and also supervisor reviews. Based on their feedback, we'll spend some time doing revision. We'll submit the portfolio, and then we will celebrate. And there may be a capstone presentation involved. Dr. Moorbutter has been discussing the possibility that we may, at the end of this process, have you guys do a little share out of this process and what it's meant to you. So the portfolio itself, the bulk of our work will be in building your master instructor portfolio. It is aligned with each of the standards. So for educational professionalism, we're going to identify evidence or artifacts that help to authenticate your work as an educational professional. We're going to spend some time analyzing that. For Standard 2 on leadership and collaboration, again, we're going to find evidence or artifacts that authenticate or substantiate your work as a leader and a collaborator at NCC, and then we're going to spend some time analyzing that. Responsibility for student learning, finding evidence, and then building some analysis around that. And then in the totality of those three leadership standards, portfolio standards, educational professionalism, leadership and collaboration, and responsibility for student learning, we will spend some time doing a reflection piece. Okay, so moving ahead, we push through the break. This, by the way, is the molecular symbol, I believe, for caffeine, which we all needed that night at 7 o'clock. We spent some time working through an activity related to this hypothetical MIHE candidate named Peter. And the goal here was that we pulled out some of Peter's professional activities, and we tried to align those with which of the three professional standards they would go under. The group spent about 30 to 40 minutes doing this. It really fostered some good dialogue among the cohort members, and that's not something that we can do through this PowerPoint, but if you would like to do that, or I might be able to find some way to help you go through that process, I'll make that available to you. Again, the goal was, let's look at somebody who is not us. Let's look at his professional activities, and let's see, where does this fall into, which standard does this fall under, and what is not an activity that he's engaged in that is related to, this particular process. There are a lot of us do a lot of work that might not be aligned with educational professionalism, leadership and collaboration, and responsibility for student learning. So our litmus test was this. The activities and the artifacts for each standard, they've got to be relevant, they have to be substantial, and they have to be sufficient. And those were the three, as I said, litmus tests. Those were the three lenses that we were looking through each of the activities with. Is it relevant to the standard? Is it substantial and meaningful? And in totality, are they sufficient to represent your work under those three performance standards? And so then we stepped away, we pulled up that Google Doc, and we looked at it, and I believe you guys already have that. I think the instructions for that are relatively self-explanatory, but just real quickly, what I'm trying to do is to go ahead and initiate your thought process about the three standards and how they relate to your work. So if you guys will go back in your work at NCC within the last 5 years and pull out the highlights of your work as an educational professional, as a leader and collaborator, and as somebody who's responsible for student learning, and just start placing those activities into that Google Doc, and then brainstorm what artifacts you might use to authenticate or to substantiate that those activities occurred. More importantly at this point is just to get the thought process rolling, and I'm feel quite sure it'll be organic and that it will evolve over time. Okay, so it definitely does not have to be, there is no pressure that this has to be done in its totality 100% by October 12th. It's just, let's get the ball rolling and go ahead and get your thought process working. Finally, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with, a single step, and that's the purpose for this initial assignment, is to go ahead and get you guys thinking about that particular thought process. All right, so look, I'm wrapped up here, and I just wanted to make sure that you had a little bit of a narrative to go with the PowerPoint that we used to initiate this process. I know it's a little awkward listening to a screencast. I appreciate your attention for the last 15 minutes. Send me the questions that you have, and I will try to respond accordingly to that. And we do have that one assignment that I need to have you guys complete so that the Con Ed department can officially enroll you in this course. So I need to think a little bit about what that might be, and I'll try to include that in the email I send you. All right, well, you guys have a nice weekend. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care. Bye.